So day 2 was rough. I was up till after 3 the night before editing, and because of that I was dragging all day. Ever feel like you're stumbling through? You can't get traction? That was me all day. So today we'll talk about how within my very chaotic day I was still able to make progress, even though it wasn't pretty. It's all about leverage and whatever it is you're stuck in into some kind of a tool to get you back into motion. Because like they say, the small steps count more than you think. And if you're in a position where you are having a tough time even believing that, all that there's left to do is to test proof it. So lean in, because here we go. Everything had gone so great the entire day. I shot everything. I had enough there that I thought I could put it together and have something that would be a decent representation of what it is that I want to do, especially on a day 1. And this is where my inexperience comes in. I ran the entire day down to the end, and I made a decision that I'll go ahead and edit it now. I stayed up as late as I could after shooting the first day, thinking about all of the vloggers that I follow and just having a greater appreciation about what they do, and maybe even a growing suspicion of how much staff they may or may not have to help them. It was getting so late, and finally I thought to myself, if I don't go to bed, I'm gonna throw this whole thing off the rails right away, because there's not gonna be any way I'm gonna be able to be up with enough energy in order to make good on a schedule that I'd prepared for the day 2. And sure enough, that's just exactly how it went. I did wake up very excited, full of vigor, ready to go. 7:30, just about 4 hours of sleep or so. In the first day, I'd started to write a song that I was gonna video as a short, or just post up, having to do with the current events, with the still unreleased Jeffrey Epstein files and the big why, and the growing question and suspicion about Pam Bondi and her reasoning, and the whole staff for allowing that to just go on, and what that all means. I didn't quite get that done on the first day, so I thought that would be rolled into the second. No problem, I thought. So hitting that second day, I'm ready to go. 7:30, I went for about an hour, and then I realized that I needed at least another hour of sleep or I wasn't gonna be any good use. And so by 9:30, I was back at it. The big problem came from just how long it took me to get it edited. The actual edit, it was reasonable, maybe 2 or 3 hours, but then I had to go back again, try to get the SRT files for the captioning, and that added on maybe another hour of work. And I'm sure people do these things faster, but I am getting up to speed, and that's just how it goes. So all of that situational adversity aside, the good thing is that did go up. I'm very proud of it for myself in terms of it's more in line with exactly what I want to be doing on the channel, and that just gives me a lot of confidence to go forward. I do need to be sure that I'm doing a better job of managing my time, because I'll spoil the whole thing for myself if I make it so that everything falls into the next day all the time. The nature of this video is my improvise in order to get the train back on the track and buy me time to realign with my to-do list, so that way I can keep the schedule that I've set for myself. From where I'm sitting now, it might not be the most important thing in the world to make these arbitrary goals and deadlines, but when you're trying to build something, you have to hold yourself to account, and that's what I'm trying to do in all of this. It's all arbitrary until it's not. I suppose the salvage of it all is in seeing the reality of, if I take a top-down look at everything that I'm trying to do and how I'm attempting to conduct myself in doing it all, there is something wonderful from just saying to yourself, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this thing, this thing, this thing, and this thing, and then you go about doing that. And the challenge is just to wake up every day and to do that thing. But the realities are is that you have to get acquainted with what it is that you're trying to do. You have to sort all of that, and sometimes you're so excited and eager to get to the thing that you still don't have enough good sense to understand that it's not going to be as smooth as exactly you think. You're just so filled with confidence and go, go, go that you get to it. And I'm terribly afraid that if I'm going to be just choosing to make a habit to fall off the horse and lollygag about it, and that certainly isn't going to help me to get to where I want to be, and it isn't going to help me to build towards making the channel into something that I think could be entertaining and interesting and inspiring for some people. So I had to make a decision how to best salvage the rollout, still try to get done as much that I can, and then give myself a little bit of an easement in order to be able to get myself back on the track. So far, this has been an awesome experience. You know, in the last few months, I've posted about, I don't know if it's 80 some videos onto YouTube, and it's been a great big effort and a lot of work, but very informative. I'm constantly learning, something that I always wanted to do. And now here we are, I'm doing it on a regular basis and becoming more fearless about it and eager and interested in the process of it. So that's where we're at. This is my walk and talk hybrid video in order to fill in the gap, because in my inexperience, I underestimated just exactly what I needed to do in order to get that first video up. I'm certain that I'm going to make more mistakes like this going forward, but I'm going to do my best to always show up until I figure out what the balance is in order to be able to do this the way that I want to, in order to best help me accommodate my compulsion to have to do all of this and to best serve your interest in following along with all sorts of challenges to give you a story to follow, something interesting to look at when you're eating your breakfast or whatever you do when you watch these things. So for any of you that have been watching for a while, you know that I'm writing 100 songs, and that the most recent song that I have released, called Color Revolution, I've been inspired by some of the work that James Roguski had done back in September or October of last year, where he was pointing out the UN's treaties that they were trying to make and the Pact for the Future and all of this, where he was putting himself out there and reporting exactly what was in all of these documents and what it would really mean to the countries that were agreeing. So whenever I released the song, I had made 2 behind the scenes videos about that. One of them, I'd spoken in length about James' contribution to the freedom movement and the effort to keep us free. And in that video, in an attempt to make myself available to contribute more, I had sent James a message about the song I'd written and how his efforts had influenced that. And being that I am the small timer that I am, there wasn't a response. So I just told myself, well, what'd you expect? So on a very positive note, I'm very happy to acknowledge that I did receive a message back from James Roguski yesterday, and that he did have a chance to listen to the song, and he thanked me for the nice things that I'd said about him as it related to that. And that was very gratifying for me, very satisfying, because there's this great big fight that's happening in the world, and there are all of these seats of power that are wrestling one another for control. And the problem is that it's also clandestine and 5th gen, that most people don't even know that it's happening. There's a subversion of values and culture in order to force us all into this sort of a melting pot wherein there isn't any value or culture. Because without value and without culture, we are malleable. And I feel very fortunate that I'm aware of what's going on, and I followed all of the receipts, and I see what's happening, at least what there is that I can see. And then there's so much that I can't see, but it's obvious enough to know that the thing is happening. And so any able-bodied person who has family that they care about doesn't want that family to fall subjugated into something as treacherous as this, some neo-feudalism controlled by transnational elites. So instinctively, I want to contribute and participate. I want to be a part and do something to help. And this just is in my wheelhouse. I've been using my songs as a poignant way to package and disperse information, but the reality of it is that I don't have a reach of more than a few hundred people. And I appreciate each of the 100 people that take time to listen and comment and help me to amplify what I've done. And I've mentioned before that it's not about me feeling important, it's just about me feeling like I'm contributing, which I'm sure we all have that value. Once we pull back the curtain and we see what's happening, immediately what happens is that there isn't anything more pressing than dealing with the situation at hand. And so that was very nice to feel acknowledged, and I'm very pleased about that. And I appreciate James Roguski so much, and I admire his capacity to absorb information and be able to carry that with him and be able to articulate that. Sometimes I think I wish I had better capacity for that kind of a thing, but it doesn't seem so. So rather than sit and stew in some sort of unnecessary nonsense like that, I'm just going to lean into what I can do, value and appreciate people like him for what he does, and just offer whatever help and support that I can, where and if it could be useful. And in that, I feel ever more purposeful and more like I'm contributing towards something that is of meaning than if I just don't do anything but sit around and eat potato chips and play video games. So here we are. And that, I guess, will bring us back to this whole ridiculous scenario with Pam Bondi and what she did, in that she goes on, after Anna Luna calls her out on X, she goes on Jesse Waters' show and she promises the release of the Epstein files. And then she makes a great big spectacle at the White House the next day and doesn't do anything, doesn't give us anything. And then all kinds of people online are saying, oh, give them the benefit of the doubt and this and that and the other. And I say there isn't any more benefit of the doubt. Whoever it is that's being protected, they're either being protected or we know who they are. Because why is it that the madam is the only one in jail but all the Johns are free? It doesn't make any sense at all. And why is it that it's such a big problem to just release it? I get it, they have to redact the victims, but they sure go about taking their dear old time about it. And that's where it's all suspicious. Suspect, and it just has to stop. So I'm going to be of the club that is making a big noise about it, because there isn't any benefit of the doubt. You're either aiding and abetting or you're being respectful of the mandate and who gave it to you. And if you're not, you can get the fuck out. So let's lean into it together. Let's lean into making sure that our government is transparent and they're telling us the truth, because it's our government, We are not their people. And they treat it like the other way. When they haven't any of the fear of the people, then the people are in for a rude awakening. So let's lean into that. The other thing is that while we're in this whole big tug of war for freedom and liberty, we still have to prop up some sort of an effort towards our daily life. And if getting knocked off schedule is a reminder of anything, is that progress isn't always perfect. It's not always the perfect shot or finished song, but it is staying up late, fumbling through, and getting something done. Because small steps count, even if they're messy. So don't wait for perfect. I didn't record the song, but I did write it. And for a minute I thought, wow, this song's not gonna even be necessary because she's gonna release the files. Turns out she didn't release anything but a photo op of regurgitated things that have already been released. So I still have time. The song still can be of use. Celebrate your wins. I survived an editing marathon. I have a better understanding of what I need to do, of how I needed to find my work schedule in order to be able to make the deadline on a daily basis. And it might take me a little while in order to get it under the thumb, but I'm far more realistic today about it than I was yesterday. And then I had James Roguski acknowledge something that I did that was acknowledging him. And that was great because I have been doing this now for a year and just really feeling like I've been out on a limb. So that one little bit of inclusion or affirmation is something that I appreciate because it's something that I can measure. So push through, because even if it's 3 a.m., I'm gonna. While you're probably smarter than me not to, you can push through how you do it. You can push through too. Keep your head up. I'm gonna keep my head up. If you haven't had a chance to listen to my new song, you can listen to it there. We'll talk again soon.